Basement to your ears, this is the weekly meeting of the Queen City Improvement Bureau. Each week, the dedicated staff of the Bureau meet to file recommendations, make reports, and generally survive on water that seeps from the boiler pipes into our open mouths as we sleep on a bed of dot matrix printer paper. One day, maybe, we'll escape from the subterranean hell that is this basement, but until that day comes, the city's not going to improve itself. So here we stay, improving things. This meeting is now in session.
Hello.
Hello.
What's wrong?
I'm so angry.
Why are you angry?
Well...
Is it just the general state of things?
No, it's a very specific anger.
Oh, yeah?
Okay, so, long story short.
Okay, go for it.
As you may know, I've been contemplating what's my next move, like in life. What comes next? Well, I can't help it. So I'm like, do I hang out in the other back room for a while? Do I try a new sandwich from the vending machine? They're the big questions.
Are you looking for help on that question, or?
Well, here's what I did, and why it has led me to this deep pit of anger.
Okay.
I was laying on the sofa, and so I tried my mantra, my new mantra. It's a WWCBD. WWCBD.
Oh, WWCBD.
Right,
okay.
Right. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking,
yeah. I'm
referring to my dispensary that I opened up 5 years ago called World War Cannabinoid.
Right.
No, it's different.
Okay.
No, it's different. World War Cannabinoid did not work out as a business.
Yeah, because it was www.WWC. It was just too many W's.
I know. People got confused.
Yeah.
It's also the name of my 90s new metal band.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, World War Cannabinoid.
Nice. That's actually really good.
You kind of want to do that now, don't you? Yeah, I know. Anywho, no, it actually stands for, after my hero, what would Clark Bizzo do?
Ooh, that's smart.
You know what he'd do?
What would he do?
He'd write down some numbers.
He would write down some numbers?
Just write down some numbers.
You know what else he'd do?
What?
He'd put some KPIs on it.
Really?
Yeah. 100%.
Oh, this is new? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that too. Well, but the thing was, I only got as far as writing down the numbers.
Ooh.
But then I looked at the numbers, and Paul, I got so angry. Oh, those numbers made me so angry.
Really?
Every number that I wrote down and I looked at, 12, 3.5 million, 4.
Those are angry-making numbers.
I cannot believe that the city would allow those kinds of numbers.
Yeah.
I thought to myself. I wrote down 0. That made me pretty happy. Because 0 is a good number.
Oh, it's very good.
I think for Clark Bizzo especially.
Oh, yeah, you want to keep things to 0.
0. So then I was like, okay, that's all right. But then so I thought I'd, just maybe take it easy, and I wrote down 1.
Okay.
I was like, oh, that's so close to 0. Why can't it just be 0? And I got angry all over again.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I don't know what to do. So I'm thinking I will... I'll do like Clark Bizzo. I'll write down some numbers, but I won't look at them or think about them.
Yeah, whatever you do, don't do that.
Yeah, because I'll just say, what are these numbers doing? Why is the city involved with these numbers that I just wrote down?
Yeah, and then he'll start snapping his fingers. Where are my KPIs? I need KPIs here. Put some KPIs on my desk tomorrow.
I need these indicators of progress to be key. That's what KPIs stand for?
Key performance indicators.
I am a fool.
Yeah, well.
I'm a fool. Well, Clark Bizzo will never talk to me now.
Yeah, with the last council, pro forma was the new pro forma was the new vocabulary term.
Oh, nice.
And this one has very definitely latched onto KPI.
KPI.
Yeah. Nice. I'm old enough to remember when KPIs were metrics.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice. But that's a word. KPI is an acronym?
Yeah.
And that's better.
Yeah. No, obviously, because it's even less likely that people will know what you're talking about.
Right. But when you unpack it, it's like, oh, that's even more words.
Mm-hmm.
Acronyms are kind of brilliant that way.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like little...
Are they acronyms?
They're like little word presents.
No, it's acronyms. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And all you need to do, you take the key of knowledge, you unlock it, and out springs like an obtuse set of words that you're like, see, I know these words. You don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then somebody's like, can I read the words? And you turn the key again, and it goes back into the acronym. You're like, no. KPI.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping that we're going to get more new words as this council evolves.
Me too.
Yeah. New words, new acronyms.
New and a new album from World War Cannabinoid.
Yeah, well, I've been waiting on that for a damn long time.
Yeah.
And I'm beginning to think that I shouldn't have put money in that Kickstarter.
Yeah, you're starting to feel like you're never going to get your pressed vinyl. Maybe when the next election comes up, we can get World War Cannabinoid in here to sing a few songs.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
Maybe from their brief-lived folk period.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, that'd be great.
All right. Should we take attendance?
We should probably take attendance, yeah.
Yeah, okay, dude. Yeah, I know who you are. You're I said your name just a few minutes ago.
You did?
Yeah.
I missed it.
Yeah, well, it starts with... There's an A in it.
Yeah, but it's not near it's near the front, but not at the front.
So it's just sidling right up next to the front, is it?
Yeah.
Hey, are you? Is that the percussion track from World War Cannabinoid's biggest hit?
Yeah.
I don't even. I got nothing for that. I think it's Paul.
It is. It's Paul Deshane.
Paul Deshane. Okay,
yeah.
Even better.
Yeah.
Because of all the Pauls out there, if there's any Paul I want to be stuck in the basement with for years on end,
it's Paul McCartney, because he's got a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
And he knows how to play guitar.
Oh man. Well, I mean, I've seen you play guitar.
Very poorly. Not as good as the Beatle.
Well, he's good with the seventh chord. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, so scratch that. If there's any Paul I would want to be stuck with for years on end in a basement, it would be...
Paul Rudd.
Paul, yeah, although I would get kind of annoyed because, we'd be in there for a decade and he'd come out looking somehow younger.
Yeah.
He's probably a vampire.
Probably.
Yeah. Paul Rudd, but I'll say Paul Deshane.
Yeah, well, that's me.
All right.
When I'm present.
Yeah, and you know who you'd want to be stuck with?
Who?
Perhaps an Aidan Morgan.
I would.
Hey.
Yeah, and there are no other Aidens. There is just you.
That's true. That's true. Well, when I was growing up, I met 3 in the first 30 years of my life. Now
there's Aidan Quinn.
There's Aidan Quinn.
I wouldn't want to be stuck anywhere with him.
I don't know. He seems like an intense guy.
Yeah, but his career's been on a downward slide for almost as long as mine has been.
Well, wait, really? Have you been in 9 seasons of Elementary?
Oh, see, I don't know about this Elementary thing.
Yeah, with Johnny Lee Miller and Lucy Liu.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So
I was watching it, and I'm like,
that's what happens when your career just completely tanks. You wind up in Elementary.
I spent some time watching that throughout the first season, going, who is that guy? Who is this paunchy middle-aged man who's sort of kind of handsome, but also kind of not anymore? Yeah. I'm like, oh wait, it's Aidan Quinn.
Nice.
Yeah, he's really good though.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, time takes toll on people, but he's leaning into his age and doing a good job.
Right on. Okay, well maybe I'll take a look at it. I haven't watched the show at all.
It's a fun show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Washout Holmes.
Yep. Washout Holmes. Exactly.
Right on. So the only TV show that I watch, Regina City Council.
Wow, that's some good TV.
And I tuned in this week.
All right.
And they just swapped out a whole bunch of characters, and I didn't know I barely knew what I was watching.
Oh, it's a whole new season.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, they could say something.
This
is like the 2 Darrens all over again.
I know. They just want you to run with it, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're lucky, some of the councillors will just go upstairs and never come back down again.
One can wish. Yeah. So all of council has changed, as you know, except for 2 characters, and one of those characters hasn't even been there.
What?
Yeah.
Oh man.
And so even staff, all the secondary characters have changed up too.
Man.
Yeah, it's very strange.
Well, it's weird though that one season of council is 4 years. That is the most bizarre thing of all.
Yeah, but it allows some of those plot lines to really,
That's true.
Develop.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, you're right. None of these 10-episode sort of rushed things. Yeah.
No, and not those sort of Midland 22 episode American sitcom seasons. We're talking, a solid 4 grueling years.
So, do you think we're going to hit a jump the shark moment with this season of City Council?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think we hit it last night.
Okay.
Yeah. So yesterday was the council meeting. And, hey, you know what happened? So, people have been oh, yay, we got a new council. They're going to get along so nice when they get along. They're not going to have 10-hour meetings because they'll be able to zoom through things because they're working like a, I don't know, well-greased monkey. And that's not what happened. They were very civilly meeting for close to 9 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, so they started at 1. The meeting ended just past 9, so I guess it was 8 hours. But that's a work day.
That's a full work day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's on top of their half work day before that. So
yeah, you know what I think they should do? They should have they should air it daily, but break it up into little manageable chunks.
Right. Do it like TikToks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or a Quibi.
Yeah. Oh, if delegations, instead of doing 5-minute speech and then questions, if they just did a TikTok before the meeting, and then councillors could do stitches.
Nice.
Into them for their questions, and then it could go back and forth, and they could just get all that out on TikTok, and we wouldn't have to go through, because there were a lot of delegations last night. A lot of them were excellent.
Oh,
but there were a lot of them. So,
and sometimes there's such a thing as too much excellence.
There is. No, there isn't. No, not no, this was a great council meeting. I don't know, man. So I don't really even know what I'm saying, except that we're on 91.3 FM, CJTR in Regina. Community radio. Tuned into the community.
You turn that into a dulcet melody, but I can't help but notice that buried in there was a number.
Whoa, I'm sorry.
91. I'm mad just saying it.
I'm sorry. It's not. You don't find that to be a nice number?
I don't like any numbers.
Oh.
That's just
91.3. I'm pretty sure it's prime.
That's just the Clark Bezo way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hate to upset any mathematicians out there who might be listening. But all numbers are terrible and should die.
Well,
that's just how I feel. Don't cancel me, big math, big calculus.
Don't think you have to worry about that.
Big geotrig.
Yeah. So do you want to hear about the good things?
I do. I want to hear about the good things. Because
there are good things. Good things happened at council yesterday.
Wow. Good things can happen to us.
We, while you were out talking to the Crows and Ravens, and working on your screenplay, we had Vanessa Matthews on, University of Regina prof. She came down and kept me company because it's dark down here and I was lonely. And she came on and we talked about a couple of items that were going to council yesterday. And one of them was the nuisance and underutilized property motion. And this was, so one of the reasons the council meeting yesterday went so long is because they were dealing with a lot of leftover stuff from the last council.
Right.
So last council's laggardness, their sluggishness, because so they had to do all their work and the last council's work. And this is one of those things. This is a motion brought by Councillor Stevens, now just regular old Stevens. And what it proposes, there were 4 or 5 items. I'll just read the big ones. One is to create a property subclass for standalone surface parking lots in the intensification boundary with a focus on Warehouse Downtown Center Square. And, this would give the city the ability to charge more property tax for a surface parking lot, because as it stands right now, it's the lowest property tax class. You pay the least property taxes on a surface parking lot. And so this we'll declare it its own property tax class, and then we can charge more and incentivize development on it. Because right now, parking lots are too cheap to keep. Second, look into converting any surface parking lots that the city owns into something structured. So either structured parking or a building with parking underneath, something like that. Also look into doing a property subclass for nuisance and abandoned properties. So like basically boarded up buildings and stuff. And again, this is to raise the carrying cost for these underutilized properties. So that you can't have a junk lot and just let it sit in the hopes that the market will go up and you can sell it off. So Stevens had brought this. It's a great motion in my opinion, but I was a little bit worried that without Stevens there to defend it, it was just going to disappear. But that's not what happens, because Councillor Andrew Stevens came back, who apparently, it sounded like Councillor Zakidniak had convinced everybody in admin and council to refer to him as Dr. Stevens. Yeah. This is what passes for comedy in a council meeting.
Did he wear a white lab coat?
He did not.
See that?
I think he was a little embarrassed, frankly.
I think he should have leaned into it and gone for full prop comedy. He should have had a stethoscope.
Yeah.
An old-timey stethoscope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, except he's not that kind of doctor. He's a business doctor. He's literally a business doctor.
So he's got his fingers on the pulse of business.
He does.
Da, 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 fingers on the pulse. Nice.
Business.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So he showed up and he defended it. He did a fine job. He, was able to explain why the city needs this. I expected there would be a lot of opposition to this. I've got a clip of some of that opposition. And it was a question from a councillor, just basically challenging Councillor Stevens on, how implementing something like this will make parking more expensive. So I thought we could play that clip right now.
Councillor Burton. Thank you. So through the chair, first things come to mind is south of Victoria, residential and stuff like that. And as you move further north, you get into closer to the tracks and problems there. And is there a chance we might be raising prices in some of those areas because now we kind of get swept up? I'd love to see more buildings and housing in the south of Victoria, but as you get into that area, now we kind of penalize workers coming down and do need that parking because now we've just simply raised the taxes for them.
Could you clarify, are you talking specifically with the strict boundaries of downtown, like Albert Broad, or are you...
Yes, with the west of the post office along the tracks, or,
you want development there. Are you asking, is it more expensive to park in those areas?
Well, this will make it more expensive for those people because we add the taxes to the person that owns that property.
Yeah.
And this is an area where ain't going to be building some houses right along the tracks. And so are we catching a few things extra with this that we may not want to?
I'd say that I would invite you to read the work of Shoup and his thesis on there is no such thing as free parking. So economists widely recognize that there is no such thing as free parking. So if your whole objective as a council is to say we want parking in the downtown to be as cheap as feasible, then I'd say you've won the day. But I'd say that everybody else pays for that cheap parking. And everybody wins when you have houses, mixed residential, commercial. So yeah, if parking's more expensive, that's kind of the point. Because it's not free. You're subsidizing through losses and underdevelopment someone's urge to park in a broken landscape. And that's true. And so then what you do is then maybe you're making incentives for people to build deeper underground. There is costs, and that's something worth talking about, but surface parking lots harm people economically, and it erodes the community. So there's no cheap parking. you're paying for it in your property taxes, and the people downtown who feel unsafe are paying for it. So if parking prices have to go up, that's an option. But ideally what you do is you say, well, this is no longer feasible as a parking structure. Maybe we'll build up or under, but what we're going to do is put that land into circulation for development where people live. I'm not sure about you, but for me, I value humans in residential spaces and livable downtowns over cheap parking. And I think that's the problem that's got us here is this quest.
Absolutely. Yeah. And as I said, that's right. No questions about for south of the city. Get some areas just not really happening. So, no, thank you. That's...
All right, so that was former councillor Andrew Stevens defending his motion and the portion of it to put a new property tax class on surface parking lots.
I like that idea.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, as much as I love just parking lots all over the downtown, breaking up the neighborhood with space, like broken teeth and a grinning mouth. I'm down with this.
Yeah, I think it's going to be overall good. Now, this isn't actually going to implement the property tax class,
right? So
we're going to get a report. I believe it's in Q3 of 2025, so towards the end of this year.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully administration puts together. I get the impression, especially from some of the ways that the city manager answered questions on this, she seemed to very much be enthused about this. And she talked about how it gives them another tool to, sort of encourage density and encourage development and housing, which are the things that they're kind of absorbed with. One of the items in this motion was to integrate it with other work that the city's doing, and I think it really does. Like with all of this stuff with the Housing Accelerator Fund and just housing in general, getting residential lots that are derelict fixed up and built on, and getting, parking lots built on, some of that construction, hopefully a lot of that construction will be housing or mixed use. That'd be great. So
cool.
Yeah. And I think, and I should note, I don't want to I feel like I'm picking on Councillor Burton a bit because that was him there asking a question. And, council was swayed by Andrew Stevens and Councillor Zakidniak, who is the member of council who actually moved the motion and then defended it during council's turn to speak. They both, I think, did an able job of defending this motion, and so it passed unanimously. So
can't we get Hawkins back in to be a jerk? Come on, council.
Yeah,
give us some material.
Brashani.
Give us some material to work with. Oh, jeez.
Just imagine how far this would have gone if we had Mayor Brashani right now.
Oh, that is... What a terrible thing to think.
Yeah.
I'm so glad. I have to say, things are still in the bloom for, Baczynski. But, man, I am so happy that we do not have a Mayor Brashani. Even as I had predicted Brashani to win, I have never been happier to be wrong.
Yeah. So it's good news. That was a good news item. Cross that one off my news list.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You have a news list?
I have a news list.
Man.
Yeah. But so with that, we also got most of the housing stuff passed on the consent agenda, which is they bundle up all the non-controversial stuff, vote on it at one time at the beginning of the meeting. If anybody wants to debate it, they can pull it off. But the only thing that got pulled off was, do you remember last week we were talking about the housing incentives policy pilots and revisions? That was supposed to just get a rubber stamp, right? Because it had been debated thoroughly at executive. But Councillor Turnbull pulled it off. Now, the housing incentives policy pilots, it had 11 items on it. Approved the rental acquisition and repair pilot incentive, approved the pre-development grants pilot incentive, approved the tenant protection framework, on and on and on. But it was number 7 at executive committee that Councillor Turnbull got hung up on. And as you would expect, That is exactly why she pulled it off the consent agenda to pass an adjustment to item 7. So now item 7, which started out as confirm the inclusion of architects and architectural technologists as equivalents to a quantity surveyor as amended by the city manager in 2024, there was now an added motion to replace quantity surveyor with qualified person, where qualified person means a registered architect or licensed architect as defined by the Architects Act 1996 and by the bylaws of the Saskatchewan Association of Architects, who is in good standing with the Saskatchewan Association of Architects, a licensed professional engineer as defined in the Engineering and Geoscience Professions Act, who is in good standing with the Association of Professional Engineers and Geoscientists of Saskatchewan, a professional quantity surveyor or construction estimator certified designated by the Canadian Estimator certified designated by the Canadian Institute, or as may be determined by the director. A person who is otherwise knowledgeable through education, training, or experience about construction, estimation, and quantity survey in the context of the project at hand, who is a member in good standing of a professional or technical association, or who is working under the supervision of a person identified in this clause.
Wow.
So, item 7.
Thank you, Councillor Turnbull. Thank you.
Item 7, which was listed under minor adjustments, ended up having a word count longer than the whole rest of the motion.
Can't they just say, and this job will be done by people who know how to do it?
Yeah.
Like, that seems you could just say that.
Yeah, you'd think.
All right.
Yeah, so anyways, I thought that was fun.
Now I'll never be a quantity surveyor.
No.
Which was my life's ambition, which is why I've been harping on this.
Well, you know what? You could be, apparently, in this motion, if, like, somebody at City Hall says you're qualified.
That's true.
I think you count as qualified. I think there's a loophole in there.
I think it did mention that, like, it's at somebody, the director's discretion to say, So I just have to, quote, grease enough palms, unquote.
Yeah.
And then I can be the quantity surveyor of my dreams.
Since you're dealing with quantities, though, you might have to be a little less openly angry about numbers.
Oh, my God, I just realized that.
Yeah.
Quantities can be quantified, can't they?
Well, that's their whole deal.
Unacceptable. Well, I'll just have to pioneer a new kind of quantity surveying.
Okay.
And I'll say that it's important for my mental health because I get too angry.
There's no real numbers.
Yeah.
Maybe you could use variables in place of numbers.
I could, couldn't I?
You could use, like, numbers. Well, not numbers, letters.
Yes, I could, yeah.
Greek characters.
Yep.
Emojis.
I could use emojis.
Yeah.
I could use ratios and just ignore that there are numbers.
Yeah.
There are numbers involved, but I've got a soft spot for ratios.
Oh, really? Why?
I don't know. They speak to me.
Okay. Well, on that note, we should go to Innovative Revenue Tools.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Revenue involves numbers. So angry. And we're back from Innovative Revenue Tools.
Ooh.
Hey.
We're the Queen City Improvement Bureau.
We are on 91.3 FM, CJTR, Regina. I'm just going to start citing numbers over and over. So we got a message in from a listener.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, folks...
Shut up, Aiden.
Okay. Folks, you can reach out to us, especially when, like, it's only when we're doing the show live. But
right.
If you can, like, send us a message.
Wait, so
through
this was
Blue Sky.
This was just sent?
Yeah.
Wow, we're responding in real time.
Yeah, so this listener wants to know if you would be okay with imaginary numbers.
I've been thinking about this. I've been thinking about irrational numbers, imaginary numbers. Mm-hmm. And imaginary numbers are actually even worse.
Why?
Because you can't say, you just can't banish them. They're living in your head, rent free.
Ooh, yeah, that's a very good point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you say, like, what, -1 over, like, what's the square root of -1? That's still a number. I don't care what people say.
Yep.
I can imagine it. I don't know if that's imaginary numbers, so.
I don't know either. Yeah. And I'm not going to make the mistake of, like, trying to guess. Now that I know we're being watched by the math mafia.
The mafia.
Yeah. So, Another thing happened at the council meeting that was good. Mm-hmm. Do you remember, like, ages ago, like a couple of years ago, maybe it was 3 years ago, there was like a gang of kids. A gang of kids started hanging out in Henry Baker Hall, like swinging their chains, and like whistling and snapping their fingers.
So I just want to say that the square root of -1 is indeed an imaginary number.
Oh, really?
So I was reaching way back to high school math.
Good for you. I purged all of that memory to fill it with bureaucracy.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway.
So this gang of kids started hanging out, and they were demanding that city council give kids free transit.
And free chains.
We've had enough. We want free transit and free chains. And they have succeeded. So they managed, so they're called Better Bus Youth. And they managed to get council to approve a program so that kids 13 and under would get free transit.
Wow.
And that's been in place for a couple of years now.
Did you say Better Bus Youth?
Better Bus Youth.
BBY?
Yes.
Before the Battle of Yavin?
Yes, that too.
Gotcha.
I'm sure that's what they were thinking.
I hope
Young people like that, with their nerdy Star Wars references.
Kids wanted to ride the bus. They just wanted to talk about Star Wars on the bus.
Yeah. No, they were way too young for that.
Yeah.
And cool.
Well, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
With
free transit.
With free transit. Riding the hyperlanes for free. Yeah. Amazing.
So their goal had been to get transit for everybody 18 and under, so all the way through high school. Mm-hmm. And council was willing to go with 13 and under. And what they discovered after they implemented this, it's been in place 2-3 years now, that not only are more people riding the bus now, but revenue is up because kids are taking the bus and their parents are going with them, and their parents are paying.
Nice.
So it's like
parents got the pockets,
suckers. So it's one of the most successful public pressure campaigns I think I've ever seen. It might be the most effective piece of social activism in Regina, and it was just a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
Right? And they talked about, so a lot of the kids were newcomers to Canada, or they were like second generation. Their parents were newcomers. And they talked about, the struggles that lower income kids and that newcomer kids face when they move here. Often they don't have access to a car. Often their parents are both working. They may not have cars. And so a lot of these kids, especially lower income kids, can't afford to take the bus to school. And when you get out of elementary school, you don't have access to school busing anymore. That's why they wanted it to go all the way to high school. And so they've continued to push that since council agreed to the 13 and under. And what Councillor Stevens and Zakidniak moved last term was a pilot project to go to one school, give those kids bus passes, one high school in the city. The goal would be to take a school that was on a bus route, and it was a bus route that isn't already at capacity, and basically see if they can do this. And this is like a way to do it at no cost for the pilot, beyond giving kids their own passes. So that came to council yesterday, and spoilers, it did pass. So this did go through, but this was one of the hardest fought things at council. This was like the first time that we've actually seen, some cracks and some conflict within council. Now, it was very polite. There was no saying, I don't respect any of you this time.
You're nothing but numbers to me.
Yeah. But there were some moments that I thought were of questionable taste. So these kids came out. Now, I should note, so this actually came to council last year.
Okay.
So it made it all the way to the floor of council, and then it was tabled. Now, technically, when something makes it to the floor of council and is tabled, it does not come off the floor. It is still under consideration. Okay? So if you have like a list of delegates, that list of delegates has been approved, and those delegates are on the floor. They've been approved to speak. And you cannot add delegates after this point because all the delegates who are going to speak are on the floor. So technically, according to the rules of order, as this motion was tabled until yesterday, all those delegations have technically been in Henry Baker Hall for close to a year now.
Wow.
Waiting to speak. And they finally got to say their piece. So patient. That's how dedicated these young people are to their transit.
I bet they're like 6 inches taller by now than young people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it was cute because some of these kids are like young, right? As kids often are. And
the young ones, at least.
Yes. Yeah. So they were there before council, and some of them were like high school students when they showed up in Henry Baker Hall, and when they finally got to leave yesterday, they had graduated and gone to university.
Nice.
So but these are young people in council, and these middle-aged councillors are asking them all of these like technical questions about, like revenue and, how does transit work and urban planning. And these kids are providing answers. And I'm just like, you're grown-ups. You're the ones who are supposed to have the answers. You shouldn't be grilling children.
And the kids are like, okay, you Gen X freaks.
Yeah. So I've got a few clips here. I want to play this bit with Clark Bizzo.
Yes.
So he's asking questions of Sophia Young. Now, Sophia Young, she was the founder of Better Bus Youth. The whole thing was her thing. And she has graduated from high school. She is no longer in the city of Regina. She has moved on, but she's still tuned in.
We interviewed her for the show.
We have.
That's what I thought.
We did. We had her.
Very nice.
She was. Yeah. She was excellent. Yeah. So, but yeah, she's now at another university, and so she tuned in via the interwebs. And she was the one who faced the most questions. But yeah, I wanted to play this line of questioning from Councillor Bizzo because it's a piece of work, man. Here we go.
Councillor Bizzo. Yeah, thank you for great presentation. You got a lot of information, a lot of data. I am going to say I'm going to fully support this program, but I want to tie some KPIs to it. So I want to tie some key performance indicators to this. So with the sample group, I want to see that the free bus passes increase your grades, is what I want to see. Everyone said we're going to increase grades. I want to see the free bus passes increase grades.
Is that a question for the delegate?
Yes. So are you willing to put a group together to say, let's monitor your grades and let's say free bus passes will increase your grades?
I'm not too sure if I know too much information about that, but I do know that there is a current study that's in progress in Kingston to monitor how the effect of free bus passes is having on school attendance as well as enrollment and as performance in school. I could see if I can get you my contact for that, and you could probably ask him more of these questions because he'd be more knowledgeable, and perhaps he would be able to share the findings of the study when it's done. I believe it should be done in April. But I do know that there is a way to find those indicators. I'm just not the person to ask for that.
I'm going to say that's great, but I want the local Regina kids to increase their grades. And how do we do that? If we're going to say free bus passes, I would like to see our youth get better marks and be more engaged in school. All right. So that's what I'd like to see is a list come together with an actual study.
Yeah, we can say that and talk with admin about that.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so that was Councillor Bizzo wanting students to create some kind of purity pact where they will get a free bus pass and gratitude. They will study hard, and then they will share their grades with Clark Bizzo.
I'm trying
because that's a KPI.
So I'm just trying to wrap my head around this. First off, I thought he was saying graves, which was very confusing until I realized he was saying grades. So is he just is he thinking kids ride the bus for free, therefore they get to school so they might get better grades?
Yes.
Well, I don't see how that necessarily follows. My worry is that if you yoke something like grades and you can reverse that really easily and make good grades contingent on continuing the program, which sounds like disaster to me.
Yeah.
That's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
I revoke my World War Cannabinoid credo.
Yeah, and it's kind of an invasion of privacy, I would think.
I mean, it's
of
interesting.
Minors.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't have their names attached, surely, right?
Well, but still, like, I don't know. Like, it wasn't really even that thought out.
Yeah, I see like the basis of the idea, and I have no doubt that actually getting better access to get to schools might actually increase attendance, which would necessarily increase grades.
That was one of the arguments of Better Bus Youth, that there are kids who are actually missing classes because they can't get to school, and that this would, like, improve their attendance and improve their grades.
Right.
I think it still feels like a big violation of some kind of, wall between the city and the school board to be sharing grades back and forth.
I just don't need this program to be on review in a couple of years with Clark Bezos saying, well, we haven't seen like the uptick in grades that I was hoping for, so obviously this program isn't fulfilling its KPIs. Like, we don't need, I make jokes about getting angry at numbers, but now I am kind of angry with numbers.
Yeah, same. Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of galling that it's just a really simple-minded approach to the notion of testing to see if the program is working, right? I think in a situation like this, I would like to get more sort of qualitative responses. Yeah. So get speak to some students who've used their bus passes. The KPIs you want to look at are like, how many people are using the bus? How sustained is that? Yeah. Does revenue go up or revenue go down? These kinds of things.
Like that I think are the important ones. So and I think, frankly, having students getting better grades is a nice to have, but I frankly would not have made that argument in the first place.
I wouldn't have made that in public.
It's a difficult one to actually show, and it's pretty. I can imagine it would be pretty easy for exactly what might happen.
Yeah,
if Clark Bezos gets his way on this.
Yeah.
So anyway,
he came off like the bus Scrooge.
The bus Scrooge.
I'll give you buses.
I just kind of like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me grades. I'll give you buses.
Yeah. He did vote for it, though.
Yeah.
There was a whole period in this meeting where they were like, Clark Bezos he made a motion. I thought an amendment at one point to include this, and I don't know what happened to it. Like, it just seemed to fade away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There was a point where I really thought we had like 3 different amendments on the floor. I didn't know who was debating what. I didn't know what had been approved. It was all very chaotic for a while in this debate.
Do we need to make sure that the bus drivers are accredited?
We may have to.
Yeah. Just add like several pages of like making sure that the bus drivers have licenses. Yeah. To drive a bus.
And we're on 91.3 FM CJTR, Regina Community Radio, with the Queen City Improvement Bureau, and you're making a callback to some stuff about Sarah Turnbull.
Oh, I am. Yes.
I have a clip of Sarah Turnbull.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Now this is a longer clip, and I'm going to set this up by saying this clip friggin' rocks.
Okay, I'm on tenterhooks.
Yeah. So this is Turnbull's response to Bezos, basically.
Okay.
And this is her defense of the program and her argument for why the city should be investing the money in this free bus pass program for high school kids.
Ooh, I want to hear it.
Councillor Turnbull.
Through the chair. Do we have any services where we would ask our citizens to report any sort of grades or requirements, let alone people under the age of 18?
Through the chair, not that I'm aware of.
And what would be the legal implications or human rights aspect of that?
Through the chair, there certainly may be some privacy implications under the Lakewood law. We would have to look into some of those, but certainly when there's individuals' personal information that's being looked at, the often privacy legislation comes into play, in particular when it's youth.
Yeah. And then, through the chair, I want to talk a little bit on return on investment, because there's multiple different ways of return on investment. There's the financial that we've talked about, which only 30% of the transit pass is actually we're recovering because the rest is covered. So that's really $20 for each of these kids for our pilot program. I do want to note that we spend a lot on even one day of snow removal, and we all know how upset one day of snow can upset our residents. We all know how upsetting it is for residents for one day not be able to go from point A to point B. And we spend millions of dollars on snow removal for our residents to get from point A to point B. We talk about it every day. And when we do that, we feel from everyone what it is like to have a barrier or an obstacle. And it's just for one day. These kids and people who face obstacles every day in our infrastructure have a snow day every single day. And right now, we pay so much for everyone else to get out of the snow for one day. And we listen and we help and we do what we can. And I'm sure you're still getting stuff. These are kids who are 18 and under who just want to get out of a snow day every day. And they're here and they're presenting to us. And we are questioning them about what they're going to do. Come on now. How much do we spend on snow removal? We can get these kids some bus passes. And I have to tell you, the return on investment is huge. The return on investment isn't just money. We've got return on investment on community. We've got a return on investment on outcomes, on people, on inclusion. We've got return on outcome on education, on people who are going to use the bus. We're going to have more users on the bus, which then will get us more, what's it called? Sorry, I'm worked up a little bit. We get the buses coming all the time. Frequency of the buses. More frequency of the buses equals more use of the buses. And guess what? That even means less parking spaces because now people are on the bus. If it happens. But all of this is a return on investment. These are huge return on investments on our community and our people. And we have to get these kids out of their snow day. They're under 18. They are here. This is the most impressive group ever. And I'm so proud that some of them are from Ward 5. And sorry, I went off for a bit, but it's such a no-brainer to me that I'm just happy I'm happy I went through campaign mode so that I can be here to vote on this motion. So, thank you.
So that was Councillor Turnbull defending the pilot to allow kids in high school to get a free bus pass.
Okay, unironically, Sarah Turnbull is my new hero.
Yeah, she kicked butt there.
She can make as many motions to make sure people are accredited as she likes. That's great. No, that was just somebody genuinely worked up about an issue and really putting things into perspective.
Yep. I thought the comparison of how much we spend to keep cars driving through snowy days to kids who, some of whom, showed up to talk about how they have to walk 40 minutes to get to school. that is absurd. Yeah, right? So, yeah, I thought that was an excellent comparison. And, she prevailed. And, Councillor Zakidniak moved the motion, also prevailed with this. And these kids, Better Bus Youth, again, homegrown, made in Regina solution that was pushed and advocated for by a group of teenagers. Yeah. And, hopefully this pilot works out. Now, I'm really unclear. I was hoping that the minutes of the meeting would be out by now, because I'm really unclear of when this is going to happen. I think it might be happening this September that they'll have the pilot. There had been a request by staff to move it to next year just because trying to get this done, they'll have to do a report, pick a school, yada, yada, yada. That might be hard to do with all the other stuff they're doing right now. But I think, if I read the meeting correctly, that it's going to happen this September. And that they do actually have a school in mind. So, yeah.
What if all the kids had to wear ankle bracelets so they could location could be monitored at all times, just in case they were claiming that they were riding the bus, but were actually not? Huh?
Yeah.
I think that's probably the next best move here.
Or we could take really unflattering photographs of them scowling and put photographs up of them on each bus so that you would know that these kids are allowed. And then when they graduate, they get a big X through their face. And then those kids are not allowed. They're forbidden from being on the bus.
Yeah, sounds awesome.
There were concerns raised about kids who are like 14 who aren't supposed to be, because right now the 13 under program is what's it called, honor system.
Right.
And, the bus drivers are not going to be asking for ID, especially since a lot of 13 and unders don't have ID.
Right.
So there were concerns about kids, abusing this system.
Yeah.
And there was Councillor Rasovich was very upset about how the bus system only recovers 31% of what it costs from fares. Apparently, this is pretty standard for cities, mid-sized cities in Canada, and no city makes money off of its transit system.
That will be a bizarre proposition. I don't know how that would work.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, to turn into a profit thing. This is transit. It's not a for-profit enterprise.
And so it was driving me nuts because, putting more kids on a bus that's losing money, that's mostly empty, just means that the bus is more full and is still losing the same amount of money.
Yeah, but it's getting more use.
Nothing.
Yeah. In fact, when you think about it that way, if it's still losing the same amount of money, but more people are using it, then it's actually more efficient.
Precisely. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
If you think about the numbers.
If I think about, you tricked me.
Yep. But, and then also, there's long-term benefits that a lot of those kids could end up, continuing to, get a bus pass when they're, when the hair started to come in on their faces and they can't pretend to be high school students anymore. The X is through their photo, and they'll have to get their own bus pass.
Put away the cigarettes and get on the bus, sonny. Yep.
Yeah. And then the only other problem, the one problem that transit raised was that if you pick a route that is already very busy and a lot of kids use it, you might have to buy another bus.
Oh.
The horror.
Oh, no.
We might have more capacity in our bus system.
Oh, no.
So.
Well, I mean, I get that concern.
Yeah.
However, more buses.
I felt like, though, there was some people were arguing that there's lost revenue every time a person gets on the bus without paying, whether it's a program or they're just cheating. And it's it's not lost revenue, right? Because you weren't going to collect that anyways.
Yeah. It's not like they're shoplifting a bus ride.
Exactly.
I don't know how to.
Yeah, there's no capital that went into taking them on the bus. That's just going in a loop.
Yeah.
So. Anyways, we're running out of time. I'm sure the thing that everybody wanted to hear about was what happened with the flag and proclamation policy.
Yeah.
It passed.
Hey!
Yeah. So the policy came about because last spring, City Hall raised a Israeli flag on Israel's Day of Independence.
Mm-hmm.
People were upset about that, so two councillors, Zakidniak and former councillor Stadnichuk, brought forward a motion to not allow flags to be raised if they were determined within the last 20 years to have plausibly violated the Convention Against Genocide. Or if they're a country that's under investigation for genocide.
Okay, I think that's a fair point.
Yes. But then in the summer, that got watered down to we're just not going to fly national flags for national days or independence days.
Because who's to say what's a genocide?
Right. But we are going to fly flags of Canada, Saskatchewan, Regina, Treaty 4, Métis flags, and the Union Jack, which I think is ironic because Independence Day flags, when you raise them, the Day of Independence is usually their Day of Independence from the Union Jack.
Exactly. And as we all know, the UK has never participated in anything even closely resembling genocide. So we're safe to fly the Union Jack.
Yes. Exactly.
Oh, well.
So anyways, there was an effort to raise a Palestinian flag in the fall at City Hall. That got canceled on Mayor Masters' last day. Alex Kwan from the CBC, friend of the show, he has a phenomenal article on the CBC website right now. Look it up. He does an FOI request, gets a lot of the emails that City Hall was getting about it, see the kind of vitriol that was coming at the city for daring to raise the Palestinian flag, and a little bit closer idea of what the timeline was on the cancellation. In the end, this report finally came to council yesterday, and they approved this watered-down version. No mention of Palestine, no mention of the Palestinian flag.
Sure.
None of it. They didn't touch on the controversy.
Wow,
They've
okay,
got this passed, and we've moved on.
Okay, that's probably for the best. Yeah.
Anyways, we should probably end this because...
Yeah, because I'll start thinking about numbers again, and I'll just lose it.
We don't want that.
All right. Okay, and should I move to adjourn?
If you do, I second it.
All right. Well, let's make that hypothetical real, and let's adjourn. Motion passed. You've been listening to the Queen City Improvement Bureau on 91.3 FM CJTR, Regina Community Radio. Tune into the community. Your hosts are Paul Deschen and Aidan Morgan. Music by Guidewire, a.k.a. Ryan Hill. We are broadcast live 7 to 8 p.m. on Thursday evenings and rebroadcast Monday afternoons 3 to 4 p.m. You can find us on the radio, on our website, QueenCityIB.com, also CJTR.ca/podcasts.